your spaceship music collective. This is Six Set Bro, a misguided adventure through the social fringe of the music industry. I'm your host, Dom Maple. Hello. Welcome to Six Set Bro, music and entertainment podcast brought to you by the good folks over at Your Spaceship. I am Dom Maple. I'm your host. I'm joined, as always, by my brother, the brother from the same mother. We have the same mother and also the same father. Money Mike, everyone, and a guy that is no relation of mine, don't really know who he is, don't know how he ended up on this show, is the one and only little big man, little big boy.
I thought you were gonna call him Little Nandez there or something, like give him like a rap name.
No, he's little. He's the athlete this week because it says that on his shirt. He's
the athlete.
Oh yeah, Pat McAfee.
His name's Andrew, by the way.
That's Pat McAfee.
Andrew Fernandez, Andy the athlete this week. Andy the athlete, everyone.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild. Yeah, this is Six Set Bro. You know what it is, people. If it's your first time joining us, welcome to the show. We welcome you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Your Spaceship page over on the Facebook thing that they do, the social media, the Zuck site. So guys, you know, I gotta tell you, I'm actually pretty happy this week, and it's because finally after so long, is my area of expertise coming into the news. Something that I definitely know a lot about. And it's, you know, people don't really want to talk about this on news programs, but all of a sudden there's some big stories breaking, and it's a good thing that I know so much about it. And it is the stock market. And we all know how much I love playing the stock game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, wait, it's all I talk about, right?
The stonks,
I believe they're called. So I know a lot about it. I'm kind of the guy to go to if you want it explained. Definitely. This is pure sarcasm. Do not listen to me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but there was a stock market thing that happened.
Are you saying you're the new Andrew Left, which is the guy that started the whole thing?
Andrew Wright.
There you go.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, so like y'all know what it is. Every YouTuber in the world and every idiot who doesn't know what the stock market is has explained it to you because they watched it on a video somewhere. And that's how I understood it, because I didn't know what was going on. And I watched a bunch of videos, and now I get it. And it's funny.
Basically like a bunch of Redditors, right? Like they basically caused all these rich guys a whole lot of problems.
Let me be the 5 millionth person to explain it to you very, very quickly, because I can't be bothered getting into it really, and you probably already know about this. But for anybody who doesn't, it all started because of GameStop, a business that was clearly going under. I mean, that's one of those places you like trade your games in and get like 90p for it in return. It's like I just bought it for like 70 pounds, and it's like, that's now worth 50p. And that's all. And so I bought this like 3 minutes ago. Well, you know, depreciated in value. That's what GameStop is. And you buy games there and stuff. And it's a failing business model. Games are going digital. Everything's changing. So it seems like it would be on its way out. So these big hedge fund companies or people who buy stocks and do all this rich guy stuff, they do a thing called shorting, or they borrow stocks off them with the intention for the stocks to go down so that they can sell them back cheaper, making money, blah, 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 right? So the people who actually did, like the hedge funds that were going to do this, like the big rich guy companies that we all hate because they're the man and we don't like them, they were doing this to GameStop, and they were like buying all the stocks, and they're like, haha, it's gonna go down in value. Then a bunch of Redditors on a Reddit thread, it's like Wall Street Bets or something, they decided, let's all buy GameStop stock, and that will fuck them up. So they all bought at the same time. GameStop stock went.
Try saying that quick.
I know. GameStop. Let's just call it GameStop at this point. GameStop went way up because everybody bought at the same time, and then all these rich guys, the guys that we don't like, are like, oh no, and now they're like billions of dollars in debt, and that's funny. That's kind of like a cool prank that those guys did over in Reddit. That was like a funny prank. So now those guys be getting rich, and the rich guys be getting poor, and they were not very happy about that. So I guess the story is kind of that now they're trying to manipulate it so that they're not allowed to do that. They want like regulation and stuff put into it.
Now they want regulation
because it didn't go their way. So that's like something that happened. So good for GameStop anyway.
Was it AMC Cinema as well?
Yeah, it was like AMC Cinema and I don't know, something else. Doesn't really matter. I don't know.
Power of the internet.
How can we not talk about
that? Is interesting though. Like if you go into it, it is quite interesting. The fact that
infinite gaffing, but it is pretty crazy, and it's quite funny that happened. It is still funny. It's still one of the best pranks of all time. It's like a $1 billion prank. So yeah, that was kind of the big news. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening. I mean, I suppose one thing that I would talk about quickly, there's not too much to say on this story, but there's a bit of news around music festivals once again. And I know we've talked about this a couple of times on the show, sort of our own thoughts on would we be comfortable attending a music festival anytime soon. So generally, I think most of us weren't too comfortable. But we thought
I'm getting more comfortable every day.
Yes, I think later in the year, a lot of people would change their minds, I guess. But there was, I can't even remember. I should have wrote it down in my notes here. But there was a headline that I was actually reading this morning that said, festivals have the potential to be as safe as Sainsbury's, despite the impact of COVID-19. So it seems like some festival runners have said to MPs in Parliament about trying to get these smaller festivals up and running, because the likes of Glastonbury has obviously been cancelled, and those are huge, but they're trying to compare it to, I guess, a supermarket. And I don't think they're wrong there, because I'll be honest, the supermarkets are not the safest place to be right now. And there seems to be absolutely like hardly any actual law regulations on what you can and can't do in there. A lot of advice, a lot of guidance, but not actually any laws on what you have to do. So I'm like, and that's all indoors. So I get where they're coming from, and they're
what are they going to do? They're going to put aisles in.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to buy your bread and milk and eggs in there.
No, not actual grocery aisles. Like,
yeah. No, that's what you're gonna be able to do. There will be a self-service where you watch the gig on a machine. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think they're just trying to say if there was actual regulations put in place at a festival that is outdoors and it's quite small, and they had like some sort of like COVID marshalling around, like telling people what they can and can't do, and hand sanitizer stations and shit like that.
That's the thing. Like festivals already employ like security and stuff to kind of keep everybody in line at festivals. So that is perfect for social distancing as well. If you were going to do it in a small festival, the problem with supermarkets is like you can't expect supermarket employees to all of a sudden become security and bouncers and stuff. And the government basically just kind of lays it all on people in supermarkets to kind of control the situation.
See the difference between post and pre-pandemic with them people at gigs is that they actually have to do work now. No offense, they can't just like look at
the security.
They actually have to do something and just not.
stand up on the railing every now and again and just look at someone and like
I like this.
they just kind of stare.
And like sometimes when there's something good happening behind him, they go.
Just the slow turn. It's like, hey, you're not meant to watch that. How dare you enjoy your job?
Yeah.
That's like somebody who works at a movie theater who comes in and watches part of the movie. I was like,
Yes.
how dare you? How dare you watch part of the movie?
They put their like flashlight on just to make sure they're,
click click.
It looks like they're checking stuff.
Make sure it's working. Just making sure it's working here.
I miss the movies. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's one of my big misses. I can't wait to go back and watch a movie on a big screen.
I was talking to a mate. I was talking to Crow a couple of hours ago, and I was like, my apps bill is getting more and more expensive just because I can't go out and watch things, and I want to watch things.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. I've got like everything at this point. Everything that I can watch stuff on. I've got all the platforms.
Streaming services are raking it in from us all right now.
Totally.
They're just
Although,
raking it.
I take it you guys seen the Disney Plus news that they're getting like, well, I mean, I say they're getting, they
More
already
expensive?
own all this. Well, I mean, even if they do get more expensive, it seems warranted if they're bringing all those shows over, like
Netflix
Disney
is too.
Star.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Disney Star stuff though? It seems like they're bringing over all the Fox stuff, I guess. Like, basically Disney Plus this whole time has been pretty PG because it's like for the kids, and now they're bringing over all the shows that they acquired from Fox, all the sort of more R-rated stuff.
Right.
So there is actually like absolutely loads, and it's called like Star or something. I assume it'll just be part of Disney Plus. It seems like it's all included. Like, but
That's cool.
there's your other shows like the first ones coming off the top of my head are like Lost and Family Guy. Like the Deadpool movies are coming over. Stuff like that Fox owned.
Yeah.
But now
Like,
they
start
have
with the kids and then all that stuff, and then to keep the subscriptions going, you go, okay, we need like adult stuff or more grown up stuff.
It does make sense because like a lot of people that have grown up with Disney and like are all like late 20s, early 30s now. It's like they need more content to cater for them as well. Yeah, get them in with the kids stuff like, but no, I seen no, I don't know what it means as well because it only came up on my Netflix last night whenever I signed in. It was like this notification that's like Netflix is increasing in price too, but we're bringing loads more content, but it wasn't as clear as the Disney Plus thing. Is like, what more content are you bringing, or are you guys just doing the same that you always do, like original shows?
Well, they said they were doing like an original movie every month this year.
Oh,
that was their thing in 2021.
I didn't see that. Yeah,
there is, and there's like
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's like big actors in every single one, so it's like every month there's gonna be a new Netflix original movie in 2021, which is crazy.
See, I do like them original things. Like Sky Atlantic had really cool. Because they get stuff from HBO, obviously.
Well, that's the thing. We're all gonna have to fork out for HBO Max now.
HBO, yeah.
Because you know what?
There's some incredible stuff coming to it.
Yeah,
actually, and it's like, no, I want it. I don't want to spend more money.
See if they do. There's one with Bryan Cranston in called the. Oh my god, what was it called? Oh, why have my fucking
Breaking Bad?
No,
Malcolm in the Middle.
Your Honor is what it's called. Your Honor.
It's HBO Max, is it? Yeah.
HBO, right. Yeah. It's called Your Honor, and apparently it's supposed to be really, 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 really good.
Does he play a judge?
No.
No. So. Oh, I thought it was like Your Honor, like as in.
Oh, it's like
Your Honor.
Like a.
Oh, it's a courtroom thing.
It's like a courtroom / crime thing, I guess. Almost like Breaking Bad.
Courtroom / crime. Ozark. I couldn't get into Ozark. Apparently it's really good as well, but
I don't think I give it a chance either. I only like done maybe 2-3 episodes, and I think it was like it was too fresh after Breaking Bad, and everybody was just saying, "Oh, it's the next Breaking Bad," and I think that made me like think of it more harshly. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's like if I just watched it on its own merit instead of everybody trying to compare it to Breaking Bad, maybe I would have got into it.
Yeah,
I think. Maybe something to go back on. I'm getting caught up on loads of shows at the minute. It's like stuff that I wanted, like had on a list for ages. Yeah. I'm worried I'm gonna run out soon.
Oh man, I am watching like the same thing over and over again. My pandemic has essentially been watching The Office and Seinfeld like again for the 40th time. The whole entire season. Don't know why.
The Office is on
taking,
Netflix now.
You're taking this time to rewatch stuff you've watched 20,000 times already.
Yes. Yeah. I am fully aware.
So you don't need original content then, because you're just going to keep going back to the same.
Yep. Correct.
So all this money's
just give me what I like. Just give me what I like.
That's what. Whenever they're like, oh, all these shows come to the Disney thing, like Lost is coming on. I was like, man, Lost has been away for so many years. I was like, oh, Lost. I'm gonna rewatch that. I'm the worst kind of person. No, well, you know what? You know who is the worst kind of person? Good segue. The old courtside Karen. That we all see that in the NBA. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right, so for anybody listening that maybe doesn't follow basketball, this is a funny story. So the Lakers played the Atlanta Hawks the other night, and obviously with the pandemic, nobody's really been letting fans into their stadiums. So Atlanta's first game, they were letting fans.
Atlanta's been quite open throughout the whole thing.
Have they? Oh shit!
Yeah, Atlanta, Miami. They've just been.
I know there's some places just been going for it. There's other places.
The NBA have just gone. Yeah, we're not allowing you in here. But there's outside of the NBA walls, Atlanta's just been like, what? What's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do whatever. But so Atlanta were letting people into the games. So there was some audience members, not many, like the place is like pretty much empty. Few fans in the stands, and somehow, even though they've only just let fans back in, like a big fight broke out, like a big shouting match between some lady and LeBron James. I don't know what the hell happened here. She ended up getting ejected from the game. Like, imagine being one of the first people to get back into a sporting event and then getting ejected from the game for arguing with one of the best players in the world.
Was he like talking to her fella who's like this jacked up, like,
well, so she says
guy?
So she like posted to Instagram after the whole ordeal. Everybody was very confused with what was going on. She posted to her Instagram afterwards saying like LeBron James said something to her husband, and she got up and was just like, don't talk to my husband like that. And then like a whole fight broke out, and I was just like, I don't know. I mean, I didn't see that happen while I was watching the game personally. I didn't see him starting to talk about her husband, and I don't really know why she went off like that, but at the same time, she had her mask like pulled down around her chin to shout at LeBron James. I was like, yep, fair enough. Kick her out. How can you be so entitled at this stage, like, during the global pandemic, to like actually be able to attend a sporting event and get kicked out so quickly? So Braun called her courtside Karen on Twitter, and he wins.
Because is he gonna copyright that?
You really should, because it's totally a thing. Taco Tuesday. But yeah, that was the story of courtside Karen. That was fun. A lot of good pandemic news this week. There's all these good pandemic stories. Like, have we all seen the this is so not music really, and I apologize. Have we all seen
it should be 20 minutes if we just done music.
I know, it probably
people come for more than just the music, right? They come for the nonsense as well, hopefully.
Have you guys seen the new commercials to warn us of coronavirus from the government?
As soon as a commercial comes on, I'm like,
which
oh, it's like on your social media. It's everywhere. It's fucking everywhere. It's on TV. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. It's like, look into their eyes. Have we seen this?
Oh, I seen a glimpse of that. I had no idea what was going on, so I just scrolled past it.
Dear Lord. Like, I mean, you gotta look it up.
Why can you tell through people's eyes now? Like the sniffing dogs that they've got. Can you look into someone's eyes and go, you have COVID?
Well, I will tell you, if their eyes actually look like they do in the commercial, then yes,
they look like the Mountain's eyes when he came off the table.
They look like Michael Jackson's eyes at the end of the Thriller video. You know, whenever he turns around and they're like fucking reptile
There's
eyes.
been some special effects.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. They're just like, look her in the eyes and tell her you only went out for essential shopping.
You've got COVID or jaundice.
I don't know. It's just it gets me every time. I'm just like, you know what? Piss off, government. That's how I feel. It's the worst commercial, like just guilt tripping shite. It's as bad as the last one with the little Northern Irish ladies and being like, "Oh, hi there, Margaret. Come on in, have a cup of tea."
Oh yeah,
then,
with the bad breath.
I didn't see that one.
All the breath is
There's
going
an
everywhere.
actual cloud. There's an actual like green cloud whenever they they breathe.
First time I seen it, I thought it was like one of these mouthwash commercials, like for halitosis or whatever.
Here, Margaret, have a mint.
Have a mint. It's like that'll get rid of that pesky COVID smell.
You don't beat the ones from the near the beginning where you're in the shopping aisle and they seen the mist go over the shelf into the next aisle.
That was that one shitty animation like that, and they were just like, it can travel over aisles. Oh no.
Life-size snake.
The worst thing that ever happened. Right. Let's actually get into some music. We'll talk a little music here in a little short shout out segment. So yeah, I got a couple for you this week. Well, 3 to be exact. 3 little things I wanted to shout out that I think have been really cool. I've been banging them throughout the week. First up is Revue, a band that we actually have a breakdown of one of their, I think it was their last single, up on our YouTube page, The Wolf, yeah. And they made a video. It was on one of the podcast episodes as well. We featured it where they talked about the making of that song. So they have a new single out called Ain't In It For Our Health, and it is damn cool. It's I'm trying to think how to describe it. There's something a little bit Queens of the Stone Age-y about it. I think it's that guitar riff in it. I'm very honored to have had Marty from Revue sent me some of these early on, and I tried to give him some mix notes on it and sort of just help him out with the process there. But I mean, it sounded dope by the time I heard it the first time around. So he touched it up, and it sounded banging, kind of like a Queens of the Stone Age-y, bluesy type deal. Very cool though. Definitely recommend. Go and check it out. Second one I want to shout out here is Quinncindental. I don't even know. Have we talked about Quinncindental before on this show? I don't know if we have.
We haven't yet. I keep saving it to. We keep running out of time or going on tangents. I have it saved in our podcast stuff. So yeah, like it's about time we've got around to it.
It's been floating around for a while now. I know it's a pretty new project for John Quinn, who is the main guy, Quinncindental. Sort of a hip hop based project for him, which I think is a big change. And he released an EP there called The Rule of Three. I'm actually a really big fan of this. And sometimes, like, I'll be honest, sometimes I find it difficult with Northern Irish rap whenever there's like really prominent like Northern Irish accent. I don't know why. It's just sometimes immediately whenever I hear it, I would get hit with a cringe or something. But I listened to this because I was like seeing it around a lot. It's like, yeah, I gotta check it out because people seem to be really digging it. And the first track on it, Nostalgia, I just can't recommend it enough. It is really cool. The beats on the whole EP are fantastic. That one is personally my favorite. And it's just kind of like this, you know, the lyrics are like about being younger and what you did, especially around this country. Like it reminds me of my youth. And I think
he talks about like having essentially jumpers for goalposts.
For goalpost football nets, yeah. There's loads of stuff like that. Where it's just like, oh, that's really good lyrics in it. Like I actually really like it. And the EP as a whole is great. Like I said, I think one of my favorite things is just the beats on the whole thing. They're very like vintage, sort of retro-y beats, you know.
I also like the fact that you had the rap in there, but then it also has like a proper like pop chorus. It has like its actual sung lyrics. Whenever the chorus hits, you get that melody and stuff there.
Yeah.
So you do have that nice mix between the rap verses and the actual chorus then, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's the vocal hook on that first song is fantastic, and that's the one I played the most, to be honest, over everything. But I definitely recommend checking him out, and well, I can't wait to see what else he does, because I think he has quite a unique thing going for him there. It's quite a unique style I haven't really heard come out of here before. And then to finish this off, we got to talk about Reasy Ajarro. Last episode, we were sort of anticipating the release of their next, no, I say their next single, their debut single as this band. For any older listeners of the show, you will know them by a different band name. They used to be called Surf Green, and they went away for a good while, and they have came back with this new name, Reasy Ajarro.
They've taken it up a notch.
They took it up a notch. They kicked it up. What's that friggin' chef does? He was like, get up a notch, bam. It's like threw some spice in it. That's pretty much what they did with Surf Green. They like had Surf Green. They're like, we're gonna take it up a notch, bam. And they added some spices to Surf Green.
Yeah. Instead, they didn't do bam. They went, ugh.
They went, oh. Sorry.
Let's take this up a notch. Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah, so there's screams in it. I don't know if you got that. But there was always screams in Surf Green. Surf screams. Yeah. I need to get a laugh button, because whenever there is no laughs, it's bad, and it's just emptiness.
Are you gonna do like a proper laugh, or just one that just goes ha? And then that's
I could do that, or I could. You know what?
Yeah, you need two. You need like a uproarious one for whenever it's a. Well, you're just gonna use that all the time.
You need an M. Bison. You need an M. Bison one that goes yes.
If you think for a fucking second I'm gonna put myself down with a bad laugh, like, come on. I'm always gonna do the big
gonna
laugh.
use that on us, right?
Yeah. Well, I already use this all the time whenever you make a joke. Crickets.
This has turned into a dictatorship, Andy. He's got all control of sound effects.
Don't make me the editor of the show. That's all I'm gonna say.
Here, we need to get some Seinfeld bass on there. See, next time we have a guest, I want them to come in from the side of the screen with the Seinfeld bass.
But it'll just be that. It'll just be me. So that'll be the sticker.
You know that Instagram page that you showed me?
The stanza ground?
Yeah. Has anybody said Happy New Year to you yet in February?
You know what? Surprisingly not, because people don't talk to me as much anymore. I know. I love that in Seinfeld. It was like, I got Happy New Year today. You know, I once got Happy New Year in March.
I legit got one yesterday. I'm like, what?
Yeah. You know what? It usually happens to me every year, but this year, I think because, you know, everyone is depressed with the pandemic and they have masks on their face. Maybe they're saying it, I can't hear it. And I also don't see anybody. So, no, I haven't been Happy New Year yet. At all, really. Anybody want to wish me
Happy New Year?
Thank you. About fucking time. Anyway, Surf Screams. No. Surf Green, now Reasy Ajarro. It feels like they've taken elements of what Surf Green was, right? So before, I know whenever we talked to them, they seem to be quite heavily inspired by Waves, who's a band that I really love. That's with 2 V's, if you want to look them up. And I got that vibe from their EPs whenever they were working as Surf Green. But the thing about them that was kind of different from Waves was like they had this heavier element, you know, almost System of a Down-esque, shall we say. But yeah, I think they've definitely, I don't know, Mike, would you say, is it heavier? Is heavy the right word? I don't know how to.
I was going to say mature, more mature.
Yeah.
You know what I don't know. It's really hard to explain. I think what we were saying before the show there is just, personally, this new track is produced immaculately, and I think just the upscale in production has just brought out what it is to experience those guys live. Mm-hmm. There was always that crazy energy. They were always heavy, as you said. The screams were always there, but the screams just come through so much better in this new track, I think. Or there's something about it. And then it is one of those tracks as well. One of the catchy, brilliant things about it is it's one of those like intense. It's like 2.5 minutes or something.
It's very short. Yeah,
it's like it's over before it starts, sort of thing. But then it's so in your face, like flat out, like straight the way through. And it's weird that it can veer from. You were sort of saying like the Waves influence is there, and System of a Down. I sort of said to you like the verses kind of reminded me almost of like old Green Day.
Yeah.
And like so like at one point it's verging on like pop punk sort of stuff, but then all of a sudden the screams come out like towards the end. And like it bounces back and forth, but it's not jarring in any way, if you know what I mean. It mixes together really well.
Yeah, no, it is, and it seems like it's been well thought out to me. It's like it doesn't feel like a mess of genres or anything like that. Like it works. It is like Green Day, System of a Down.
And the good thing too is that this is a single which is leading to, I can't remember now, was it an album or an EP?
No,
but there's more music coming.
There's more music coming very soon, and the exciting thing is that we actually are going to have the band on next week. It's actually going to be a Thursday show instead of a Wednesday, which will be the day before the release of their EP, which is super exciting. So we can talk to them all about the songs on there and, you know, what they have coming this year, what their plans are. But yeah, that's really looking forward to that one. We'll have the guys on next week, and we can sort of have like a pre-show for their EP launch, I suppose you could call it. Yeah, it'll be really good. The last thing I want to shout out is it's a bit different. It's not an artist that I'm shouting out, but it's an event, and it's called Douglas Week. It is basically a week of all different kinds of media and entertainment, all to celebrate the life of Frederick Douglass, who you can look up about if you don't know about him. He's born into slavery, and became one of the leaders of the sort of like an abolitionist, as you will. I'm not the best person to explain it. The reason I'm talking about this is one of, you know, our big fans of the show, Sarah McCready, who's been on here, is playing a big part in running that week. And she has a lot of amazing stuff going on there. It is a whole week jam-packed with stuff. Like I'm not just, I know I say these, I usually say at the start of a 6 Pro episode, it's jam-packed. Look at the schedule for this thing. It is actually jam-packed. The jam's all over the floor, and you don't know what happened with it. It's got like all these different elements to it, but I know in particular there's one night where they're hosting a lot of different artists to do some live stream performances, and some of them are pre-recorded. I'm actually taking part in that, so I'm so grateful to be a part of it. It's an amazing thing, and like they're really looking after the artists and trying to promote them during this week as well. So I actually did a pre-recorded performance for them, which is cool. So you can actually have it in my notes here. You can register on Eventbrite, which is on their website as well. If you just search Douglas Week, you're bound to find it. We'll share it in the comments of this episode too. And you can register there to be a part of it through their website, or you can go to their YouTube channel and they'll be live streaming a lot of the events there. But it is like an entire week of stuff, man. Like it's hard for me to do it justice. If I sat here and told you about everything that was on the schedule, we would be here for 3 hours. Like I can't express enough. It's a very cool week, and especially during a pandemic, whenever you're not doing anything else, I don't see why you wouldn't jump on there. It's free, you know. You don't got to pay anything. There are some charities that you can donate to through it, but I would highly recommend it, and I don't think it's something that should fall off your radar. Definitely give it a look. See, I see the computer glow on Mike's face. Is he looking at it?
Yeah. I just went to the homepage of it there. It's just a calendar with lots of stuff all over it.
Yes.
Like talks and workshops and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Plenty of stuff there. And yeah, I mean, after after we have Douglas Week next week, and my performance is up there, and we do it on the live stream, we will post it to our Your Spaceship YouTube channel maybe the week afterwards. I found it really fun. They wanted to talk to me about the roads that we pave. Obviously, for it being a week celebrating the life of Frederick Douglass, Sarah McCready thought it would be quite prominent to do that song. Obviously, it's something that I wrote last year after the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protest that followed, and it's very much about that whole time period throughout the summer. So she thought it would be really powerful for me to talk a bit about it and how I wrote it and sort of the subject matter around it, and then do a live performance of it. So that's what I have coming up on it. It'll be on the Wednesday next week in the evening, I think about 8 p.m. So yeah, I'll stop rambling about it, but you should definitely go and check it out at some point next week. I'm sure you're going to have a day where you're stuck to do nothing, so jump on over to the YouTube channel and give it a live stream. And that's all I got for shoutouts. Shoutout Segment! Shoutout Segment! So boys, we gotta get to the big question. I need to get a stinger for the big question.
Like
and
the typical like deep voice.
Big question. That's what I feel like it should be as well. But then maybe because I think it's that, should I just do the opposite and like pitch shift it up and be like, big question or something like that? I don't know. Just subvert expectations every time.
Yeah.
So the big question we put out into the Twitterverse. I think Twitter was the one place I didn't put the question, to be honest.
Nice.
The big question that we put out into the internet this week was, where do you find new music in 2021? Broad question, as always. We're trying to think here, what platforms work for you and which ones feel like they're kind of dead. And I'll be honest, this is something that I sort of thought of after a post I seen from Rocky O'Reilly, who's a big producer. He runs Start Together Studios in Belfast. And he was putting a couple of questions up recently, just trying to gauge where everybody's at during the pandemic. And he was sort of asking, like, do you feel represented, and what could people do more to help you as an artist? And although that's not the question I'm asking, one thing I kept seeing coming up was kind of about like, it's not that there's a lack of radio airplay, but it's kind of the question of what it actually does for you at this point. Like, how do you guys feel about radio? I mean, I truly do not listen to it, which is, I feel bad saying that because I know people that, work in it. I know people who have shows on it, and I don't know, it's just not really my thing. Like I just don't really listen to it like in the car or whatever, because I have these like curated playlists that I listen to. I listen to a lot of podcasts. It's like that you can sort of curate your own entertainment now, and it's like radio used to be like, oh, here's a bunch of cool stuff, but it doesn't really feel like that anymore to me. I mean, do you guys listen to radio ever?
The thing is, the kind of radio shows that I would want to listen to, because like you switch on radio during the day and it is literally just chart music that's fed to you for the most part. There's very little. I'm not even talking about like just purely music from our area, like local music or independent artists that we're trying to push on the show, but even like any country in the world, like if they aren't already blown up, the only radio shows that are playing stuff like that is like in the early hours of the morning. Like whenever the beauty of that though is that you do have like, these online places where you can go and you can listen to radio shows that have already been played, like BBC iPlayer. You can go and get like late night shows, which is kind of cool. Across the line, obviously I do like listening to it, but I always have to check myself and remind myself to go there and go like, oh, this is a resource to like actually learn about new music from here. And I don't know why that's like ingrained in my head that it's not the first place that I go to. As you say, you have so much control over what you consume nowadays, and it's more, well, this is the thing. Do you have control over what you consume, or is it just fed to you by algorithms, which you don't really even think about? You know what I mean? It's, oh, this is what you like, let's give you more of that, which is kind of the problem with a lot of things nowadays, and where we get into problems with like social media and Facebook and everything. It's like, here's your opinion, give you more of that. It doesn't really allow you to expand outside of like a box that you put yourself in.
Yeah.
Unless you go physically searching for stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And it does, and like a lot of the time it does stick you in this box if you don't realize it's happening. Like there has to be some sort of effort made on your part. I mean, Andy, where do you sit with this? Where do you get your new music from nowadays?
Well, I haven't gone and switched the radio on for anything in about 7 years. Like legit, I haven't, because I used to listen in the evenings and have the radio on in the background to listen to when Zane Lowe was on Radio 1. And I would listen to that for the whole 2 hours or whatever it was. He'd have interviews. I would listen to when John Peel was on, I think it was after 9. I would purposely go and listen to that. But
see, is there anything that's filled the void of shows like that? To me, there isn't one of those kinds. No. Yeah, there isn't one of those kinds of shows out there. Not that I know of, but like, fire away in the comments if people know that there's something like that happening.
They're doing other things now. So like Apple Music kind of filled that void, I feel. Now I don't have Apple Music, but I know that they have like
they stole Zane Lowe, which is
they've got Zane Lowe to do presenting, and then they have all these artists that had their own shows, like Josh Homme had the Alligator Hour and stuff like that. You know, there's a bunch of artists that had their own special show on Apple Music where they could host it and sort of showcase some of the music that they were listening to, which sometimes you have to admit, like, I mean, an artist, I feel like somebody who is a performer always has these bands you've never heard of. I feel it's just like something to do with it, you know, because they go searching.
Can I just, whilst we're on Apple, because I made the change recently again, back to Apple, and for an artist point of view, Apple, like their spotlight stuff is like really cool, just like in different genres, just the way they set it up. You can actually pick, there's like interviews and then a playlist with that interview and all that type of stuff. Whereas Spotify's like,
is that kind of like the
50 million songs and some podcasts?
Is that their equivalent to like Spotify Discover? You've used both services. You were on Spotify as well, weren't you? Yeah.
I still am.
So you know what Spotify Discover is? It like that, or is it something completely different? I haven't used Apple Music, so I don't.
Spotify discovers just a list of tracks based on your kind of library.
Where this is like where this is all like content.
This is like a show. This is like Zane Lowe, Ebro, like he does hip hop. Zane Lowe does hip hop and indie, and then there's they have their radio interviews that you would see on like YouTube and stuff, like the Cardi one, the Post Malone, and all that stuff. They would have that. Then they would have like essentially what is it Essentials that Spotify have? They have Essentials, which is a playlist of the artist. They would have that directly under that interview. But it's the fact that Apple still has that radio feel, but it's just focused on like an artist. And then
because I think the thing about Apple is because you have that radio comparison because they actually have personalities behind stuff that is introducing the music to you, whereas Spotify is literally just the algorithm.
Yeah, that's
just
what it is.
Feeds you stuff. You know what I mean?
But I've like as far as listen to radio, no, I haven't tried to listen to.
What about even any on-demand radio? You know, like you could the way you could almost go back like a podcast and listen to it. I know you probably wouldn't listen to Across the Line, Andy, but like any other like Radio 6 and stuff do podcasts. I think like Iggy Pop or something has a show on Radio 6, maybe, does he?
I think so. Sometimes.
As far as I know, yeah.
I know that
is there any
Alice
like
Cooper does one as well on digital radio, I think. Yeah, it's hilarious.
No,
It's like
no on-demand radio or anything. The only reason I'm asking is because on-demand radio is kind of like as close to a podcast as what you could probably get, and I know Andy loves his podcast. So
yeah, see, I wouldn't go listen to on-demand radio because I have so many podcasts that
yeah, there's
have
already enough content
tie-ins
there.
to music that I would enjoy anyway. And some of the podcasts that I listen to, even though they're not music ones, they will still talk about music just in general chat. And that's how I would discover that music or band or artist or whatever from that. So that's where I'd get it from. So yeah, podcasts, obviously, playlists on Spotify, Apple, the Apple YouTube thing with like Zane, their playlists, because obviously they do their own playlists, and games. You get new songs and games all the time. Yeah, so everything that's just outside radio, basically, is what
pretty much. We put this question out into the internet to see what you guys think and get some of your thoughts. So, Mike, do you have the comments that were left there? We'll go through maybe a few of them and see what other people were saying.
Do you want me to save the big one for last, or do you want me to do it? I feel like we missed a trick. I was gonna try and message you, but I didn't think you'd be able to, while talking at the same time, try and get something quick enough. I feel like we need like a sad music bed to read out the longest one.
I did make a sad music bed, but well, I suppose.
No, we'll save it for what you were gonna do. It's fine.
I have a bit.
It's fine. So I'll go with Simon's first. If we have enough time left in the podcast here.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So basically,
so go home.
Sorry.
You thought he was gone. You thought he was gone.
Simon said.
You
can't do that.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Hands up. Hands up.
Right.
Fingers are off the
Ready?
soundboard. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Simon said, I try to use Spotify mainly, but I miss CDs and MP3 players. Having access to 50 million songs on Spotify sounds great in practice, but I find it paralyzing when I open it up. I always connected with music more when I had an album of 10 to 15 songs that I would listen to over and over when I was playing games or in more recent years in the car, to the point where I got so familiar with every aspect of every song and could pick out every single part. Having access to 50 million songs sometimes feels like standing on the edge of a huge forest looking in. There could be countless untold treasures, but if you spend too long in one place, will you be missing out on something else? I feel like when I'm using Spotify, I'll find something great, listen to it 2 or 3 times, then move on to something else, not ever connecting with the music on a deep level. Having a CD or MP3 player feels like you're in a small garden or a local park, to milk this metaphor, with familiarity and comfort to me that you can get to know really well. Maybe this obsession with comfort and familiarity speaks more about my mental state than it does with the act of discovering new music. And maybe it's more because no matter how I try to deny it, I'm getting older and the world is changing in a way I can't quite keep up with. This took a turn. I'm going to go and reflect on some things. Simon.
Wow.
Sending big virtual hugs. Miss you, buddy.
So go home.
Yeah, that got deep.
See when he said about
where he's coming from.
Yeah, see when he said about CDs. Like as soon as you said that, that was me finishing work back when I was in Jersey and walking into HMV and literally just going to the genre of each genre, rock, hip hop, whatever, and just going through the CDs and walking out with about 10 on a payday. Just like, I'm gonna listen to these now. And then just...
That's cool. And I never discovered music that way, really, to be honest with you. Like never just buying something and like, oh, gonna go check this out.
Sometimes I would go like, if an artist had an artist featured, I would go, do they have an album? And then go buy that album.
Yeah. Who else we got there, Mike?
Darren Crooks says, in terms of discovering new music, it's usually a mixture of YouTube and Spotify rabbit holes for me. After using multiple music streaming services, I've found Spotify is the most accessible for finding new music with the personalized playlists like Discover Weekly and Release Radar. And then Sean McCann has said, yep, YouTube, in particular NPR, and word of mouth usually, occasionally a film, TV, or game soundtrack too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're all. I know that does sound like a mixed bag, which I suppose it is. Whenever you find new music, there isn't really one answer, but I think whenever you bring it to the level of like, well, how do you, as a performer, like, how do you reach the people through these different avenues is quite difficult because I noticed something you said earlier, Mike, which I just think is interesting because I feel most people would say it this way. But whenever you said to Andy about Across the Line, you're like, I know you probably don't listen to Across the Line.
Yeah.
And I find that, like, I can't stress this enough. This isn't me trying to say something bad about the show or whatever, but I think you'll find that's the case for a lot of like casual music listeners.
It's
even
only
like
other musicians that really listen to it. Probably
it's pretty much musicians and people with vested interest tend to go to Across the Line to find their music.
Do you know what I listen to Across the Line is when people I know from here and when you were on.
Yes, yeah, but that's the problem. I think whenever, like, if I'm on, then yeah, all the people that already know me listen to me on there. I don't think I've really gained a new fan from being on there or on any radio show in particular. And I've been on a few, and as it's so exciting to be on them, and I love doing it, and it's just kind of like afterwards, I don't know if you're like you expecting like a big flood of fans to come in or something, but you're like, I don't think I've ever like had somebody find me through that or been like, oh, I heard you on this, or notice that like my Facebook likes or followers on Instagram go up after.
It's had like a impact. Yeah.
There's just so much going on. Just life happens and it just goes over your head and passes you by. And
I just think that says more about who actually does listen to the show. And I think, like I say, not just their show. I mean, any show like that's really trying to push homegrown music. Because it is a lot of, oh, I was on this show, let's skip through to the part where I was on it. Or your friends want to tune in whenever you're on, and they're not really listening to the people before you or after you. Once you're on, that's it, and then they tune out. Not everyone's like that, but I sort of gauge that as a general sort of idea about that.
That's with everything. That's even with live gigs.
I know. It's like, let's just watch the people we came here for, and then we're out. Yeah. It is, man. It's so hard to gain fans that way. And I mean, me as a kid, the way I discovered music was actually through music videos. You know, every time I talk to my wife about this, she gets really annoyed because she didn't have like Sky TV. She had like channel 1 through 5.
Yep. You just jogged the memory. Yep, going all the way through. You're starting from like, I don't know, MTV, and then you're going through like Kiss, Smash Hits. Oh, not Smash, but like these are the channels.
Yeah,
and then you go
Kerrang,
Scuzz.
MTV2. Box.
God, I remember when they used to be so big, them channels. I remember 2001 or 2002 when Korn released the Untouchables album. At midnight, they replayed the Here to Stay video. Every time it just looped from 12 till 6, and I think I watched it for 3 hours or something. It's just like a loop. So, yeah.
Oh man, but that's how I usually find stuff. I used to just like as a kid sit on the music channels and flick around, and that was pretty much it. And sometimes I would find stuff, and I got into it, and that was the days whenever a band could win me over with a really good music video, like quickly, and I would become a fan of that band because I liked the video. If I had heard the song by itself, I don't really know if I would have. But I feel like that is gone. Like, I don't think I can find music like that anymore, which makes me really upset because that was my favorite way of discovering stuff. Because it was just like floating around through different channels and then occasionally finding stuff and be like, ooh, that's new, you know? But there's no way to do that anymore. I don't think those channels exist in the same way.
It still happens, but it's more rare. I could going from Darren's comment there. He has actually said Spotify or YouTube rabbit holes, and it has happened for me on occasion, but it's not the same feeling as what I know what you're describing, like flicking around and find a new video coming up. But like all of a sudden, like sometimes, like if I'm having a drink and watching YouTube on a night and like your playlist runs out or something, it goes on to something else. Occasionally I've stumbled across something which I've liked, but again, it's like, it's not really, well, it is a curated thing, but like not by any human or anything. It's just, it's just the next thing fed up to you. And sometimes it gets it right. But yeah, there isn't really that sort of feeling of like flicking through the music channels like there used to be.
Yeah, but that was usually my way of finding stuff. And the other big one was video games. Like both these make me very sad. Hopefully it's not just me living in nostalgia as an old man, like, but I just think that I liked finding music through music videos and just skipping around trying to find something. And then there were a lot of games back in the early 2000s or even the 90s that were prominent with like soundtracks, especially those Tony Hawk games, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, as many as they were. Those ones, man, just some of them made bands very big, like extremely big.
The Need for Speed Underground games too.
Need for Speed, yes. Those are some of the last ones I remember, because I mean, there's not many games now that have just like songs like that, because that doesn't really fit any game anymore other than sporting games. And I feel like on sporting games it's not, I don't know, I haven't heard anything that I absolutely love off like NBA 2K or anything.
The difference between the Tony Hawk and Need for Speed Underground games are they were songs from albums that were nothing really to do with the game. It was to do with probably the type of game that fitted, whereas the games for 2K and Madden and all that are written and specifically for, because you can hear it in the lyrics, you can hear it in like the production
that's
of the song.
definitely a thing.
Which is true, but it didn't used to be like that. Like I remember having a Tiger Woods game from years ago, and it had these badass rock songs on it. And I found songs on Tiger Woods, like I don't know what it is, 2004 or something stupid, and I was like, I still have one of those songs. I forget what it's called. God, I don't know. It'll take me all day trying to remember. But there's a song on it. I'm like, oh, what a badass song. I'm pretty sure Billy Talent was on a Tiger Woods game.
The reality of that probably was at that stage in time, like the budget for music and video games was very low. So they were basically going for whatever like the cheapest sync deal was. So they were getting these bands that have just been signed or that hadn't really been heard of. So it was a weird way you were getting fed like new music. Whereas now music budgets for games are probably massive, and they're getting established artists on because it's going to help sell the game, sort of thing.
Look at Cyberpunk. They went to artists and showed them the game, showed them the environment, and then go make a song to do with this.
Yeah.
Whereas older games were like, I almost felt like it was somebody, they were curating a playlist as if they were playing the game with no sound, and the music that's in the game is in the background. But they're taking them from artists that aren't really involved with the game. Yeah. But the sound connects with the game.
Yeah, I get that. And that's like what Mike was saying there as well. I think it was a big part of it, is like, I mean, they were unintentionally going around supporting small time artists because it was cheaper.
It was cheaper for them.
Yeah. They didn't know they were doing it, but they were.
The most recent game that because as you say, like, it doesn't really happen as much nowadays, and like I never, like, apart from Tony Hawk, so if you consider that a sports game, I never really played an awful lot of sports games like FIFA or NBA games or anything like that. So it was different. Maybe Need for Speed, like I was getting music fed to me through these other games like Tony Hawk's, Need for Speed and stuff. The most recent one that I can think of that has kind of fed me music in a way that I remember from years ago that doesn't seem to happen as much anymore. Andy, you're about to give it a go. Death Stranding. There's a band.
Yes.
in particular that does most of the soundtrack of that.
No.
And literally, it was Hideo Kojima put them in because he found himself listening to the music as he was building the game, and it became a weird connection for him. Then they do like this kind of very like relaxing, lo-fi, gentle music, and it goes so well with all this scenery that he creates and stuff in the game. And like literally I would stick that playlist on now if I'm like drawing or doing anything creative or whatever, because it is really sort of chill stuff, and that game brought me to that music. But then there's one track that I've let you hear, Stu, and I think you liked it all right, that just stands out, that is completely different from the rest of the vibe. There's just this one pop song on it by this Japanese singer called Jen Hoshino, and it's called Pop Virus. I think I showed the music video one night. It's like on a train and stuff.
Yes,
it literally sounds like Japanese Justin Timberlake or something, but it's such a cool track. But that's the only game in recent times that I can think of that brought me to new music recently.
But I think like fuck, I don't want to go on a video game tangent, but I think that the likes of FIFA, especially FIFA, they do a lot for world music. Like there's some artists from like France, South Africa, and all that stuff that you would never hear, that you would play FIFA and you go, oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And then I think I think songs that are made specifically for video games are their own thing, where you could probably only listen to that song first time playing that game. So I think video games have now brought another element of how to discover, like you said, Stu, about how to discover music, because that's where they get played first.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then them songs, especially in the streaming era, people look for that artist and they go, oh, this song's really good. But that's where they heard it in the game. Like if I was playing Control, and Mike, you know what I'm on about, that musical bit where you start going through the platforms. See that bit? I looked up that band straight away after that, after I got blown away by that bit. But I'm like, oh, and now that's part of a playlist that I have on Spotify. So
I think one of the best games for it, I will stop talking about games after this.
I know, it's like
we can't really talk about all this
tangents a lot, like, so people are used to it by now.
I just don't think we can talk about video game music without addressing the main one, the one that can sort of control everything, which is Grand Theft Auto. They had games that were set in different decades, so it's going to be older music. But I mean, GTA 5 did a lot in the way for...
They still break new artists,
Yes, they broke new artists, and they actually still do stuff now where they update the radio stations, which I thought was a really cool idea. Because they have, like, artists... We talked about Waves earlier. The lead singer of Waves, it's not even just him, it's the two bandmates from Waves host a radio station in GTA 5. And then they were obviously asked to curate a playlist with some of their favorite artists. And I found bands whenever I played GTA 5. That was a lot of years ago now, because that game is way older than we remember. But it came out on the Xbox 360. Oh. That fucking blows me away. I was like, 360 really did it? But yeah, I think they're one of the giants who can really still do that, and they could do with GTA 6 if they keep that going. I think that will be the only other game where you'll actually discover some music that way.
If it ever comes, or they just keep selling copies of GTA 5 until I think at a certain stage people will just measure their life and their age by how many copies of GTA 5 they own.
Do you reckon you get more? Again, last thing. Do you reckon you get more music from games or like movies? Like, would movies be a big?
Movies is a big one that I didn't really go down that pipeline, but movies I think is big too. I would say they're both pretty equal, although I'd say movies has taken over now because games are so what we talked about. Games don't really do it.
It's all established so much anymore. People a lot now. Yeah.
Movies sometimes I wouldn't even say that they're unestablished artists, but sometimes they just find a gem, something that you haven't really heard of before.
But do you not feel like movies sometimes like just remix old songs and make them sound bassy?
Well, it does that a lot in TV. That happens a lot in TV. It's like take an old song and then like make it, if it was like a hard rock, like rough song, like make a soft version of it or something. Yeah.
That's like
Yeah, that happens a lot in TV.
Over this?
I know.
I get what you're saying. In movies, like they can sometimes find a gem of a song of somebody who's been plugging away for ages, but then like if it's just used in the right way in a movie and it's a really important movie, in the same way you're talking about that point in that game Control, Andy, where it's just seared into your head now, and that's what made you go look up that band. It's like it's the same thing can happen with a movie. If a track's used in a really pivotal moment or like a dramatic moment or something, it kind of sears the memory into your head, and then you're off looking like, what the fuck was that band? Who played that?
And it definitely can happen with TV shows too. But like you say, there's a lot of either movie or TV is obsessed with this. Let's do that famous song, but like a soft version, like a sad version. And a lot of the time, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I hate all that. Yeah, I suppose like I mean you could come at this from so many angles, but the last corner I kind of want to talk about, maybe in a bit more depth than the other ones. Is the Spotify thing, because to be honest, there's actually a lot of controversy around certain things that Spotify do. There was a thing not that long ago. I don't know if anything's happening with this or what the story is anymore, but obviously they have these big playlists that they have like on Spotify, like curated playlists that change like every week or whatever. So one of them, God, I'm trying to think of the name of them. There's one called Rap Caviar. That's like the big one for hip hop. There's like the big rock one. It's kind of like all this huge new music jumps on there. And you are like, I mean, if you were on that playlist, your music is just available for so many people, because those are the main things that pop up on Spotify's homepage. Is like these playlists are just there. It doesn't really matter if you're into rock music or rap music or whatever, but they're the main playlists that sit there. Anyway, the reason I'm saying it's a bit controversial is because there was a thing recently where they were saying about they were gonna try and make deals for like artists who were uploading their music or through their label or whatever to these streaming platforms, and if you put your music on Spotify and were willing to take a cut in royalties, then they would put you on these playlists. Like, that's a legit story. Don't know if they actually went through with it or whether it's just an idea that was knocking around, but
Spotify
that is
are doing some
corrupt
stuff
as fuck.
Spotify are doing some stuff that is slowly tanking their.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's as a consumer, it's fantastic. As the artist, it's absolute bullshit, and things like this just make them even more like, even more crazy to try and like, I don't know, be putting your music on there and working for them. Like, to take a cut in royalties for exposure is madness. That's just the exact thing that artists are trying to fight against like every freaking day. This whole thing of like, oh, don't get paid, but your stuff will be in front of more people. It's like, great, but the whole idea is to make money off of something you have to do as well, if you can do it as a career. So you're kind of just like fighting yourself on that one. But they ultimately have that power. I know a lot of places try and do this, like even a lot of magazines around here. We try and do it, like make your own curated playlists and try and get a bunch of people to follow them, because you have a lot of power through that. The more people you get to follow, like our Distant Sound Waves playlist, we try and update it like once a month with all the people we've talked about on the show. Reason being is you're hopefully putting new music in front of other people, and if artists that we like are on there, then we're promoting their music in return, and maybe they come on and they find other people because they're on there. I don't know. It was an idea we had, and it seems to be working. If you haven't followed it, please go on and follow it. Like,
yeah, the other thing that we're sort of doing with that is like, you don't really know exactly how all their algorithms work and stuff, but part of the thing about this show that we've always said is there is no differentiation with us between like the quality of independent artists putting out music in this country compared to like the biggest artist that is like having number ones in the charts and stuff. And if we put that music side by side, it also helps whenever you're on a playlist what you get playlisted with. because you start to get connections being made by this computer algorithm and stuff. But it's like, whatever your band is, for people who like to listen to such and such, the more you form those connections in playlists and appearing in other playlists with bigger artists, then hopefully the more, if you scroll down to the bottom of, like, say, a Waves rock band or whatever, and you sound like Waves, like Reasy Ajarro or whatever, if they get playlisted on enough of Waves, on playlists that Waves appear on, then hopefully they're going to appear at the bottom of their page if you keep pushing hard enough. And that's kind of the thought behind it too, is like, we playlist chart music alongside independent music, because there is no difference for us. Like, the quality is all up there, and people should be listening to it side by side, and not going from one track to another going, oh, is this made by somebody that lives around the corner from me, and is this some big new artist in America that I haven't heard of yet, or whatever. We want people to be guessing like that, because then you just judge it purely on the music, and you don't get into like clout and like, oh, how many followers do they have? Just listen to the friggin' song. And that's kind of like the idea of the playlist. One thing I was going to say, we might as well mention it while we're talking about the Spotify playlist. Please do follow that if you're interested, because we're trying to get loads of people on. But we're also trying to do the same thing now. We've just started a strip on our YouTube channel on the homepage. It's basically called Distant Sound Waves Again, and it's a music video playlist. And again, it's going to be any artists that we talk about. Now, obviously, the caveat is that you actually have to have a music video online for it. But if we talk about you on the show, we're going to add you to the playlist there. And the hope is, again, like, whenever all COVID is out of the road eventually, whenever that may be, and people are back to having house parties, well, even if you're on your own at the minute, I'm sure people are having drinks at the weekend trying to get through all this shit. But there's a playlist there for you with amazing music videos from independent artists, not just from this country. We also have the bands and stuff that we were talking about from Toronto there last week too. And we're just going to keep growing it and growing it. But it's literally a YouTube playlist that you could stick on for a party night on a Friday or Saturday and just let YouTube run through with some really cool music and stuff. So if you want to check that out, that's on the YouTube page.
I think that is a great idea, because it is a way that a lot of people discover music, especially, every time. It's been such a long time since we've done this, but whenever we have a party, we'd usually let everybody just like sync up to the TV, and then we all add songs that we like and stuff like that. And sometimes you find a new song that way, and you're like, oh, I haven't heard this before. So word of mouth is definitely a big part too in the old YouTube rabbit hole. I definitely agree.
Well, we're hoping people, there's definitely people out there listening to the show and have done for a while now. People are hopefully starting to see similarities in their musical taste and our musical taste. Obviously, that's maybe why people will be sticking with listening to the show, hopefully. So, like with anything that we recommend, we always say, like, we wouldn't talk about it if we didn't actually think there was something to anything. So we are hoping that YouTube playlist, the same as the Spotify playlist, you could literally put it on and you will get some enjoyment out of it. You will find something that you like there. And the only way you know whether that will happen or not is if you try. So it is there for you guys if you just want to have a listen.
Yeah, I think the bottom.
I was going to say something really stupid. I was going to say, remember when playlists came inside magazines and CDs?
Oh, yeah.
The little cardboard.
That was a thing. That was a thing. I was going to say, right, so the bottom line for this question, although we never really answer the big question, I think a big part of how you're getting music now is that if you want to break outside the comfort zone or the box that you're already in, then you have to put some form of effort in it. I feel like you have to. That's the only way you're going to find something. Like Simon was saying in his post, if you use your algorithmic playlists on Spotify, your Discover Weekly, your Release Radar, all that sort of stuff, you're probably just going to go in circles. Discover Weekly, the whole point of it is meant to be to find new stuff, but like you're very much circling in the same thing over and over again.
It probably works in some sort of way where it takes your top 5 genres and it just anything that is hitting certain numbers in those top 5 genres, it just feeds you them. It's probably very simplistic, and it doesn't allow for the fact that humans like can have very varying tastes, and it's like, yeah, just because I listen to like 80% this doesn't mean I'll not like something that's very obscure and very different from the 80% of other stuff that I listen to.
Which I mean, I know we're saying all this, but like they do have that thing as well. I think it's released with your Spotify Wrapped that's called like Taste Breakers or something. So I think it tries to do the opposite and take the styles that you don't listen to and make a playlist with that, which is interesting that they do that as well. But they're trying to do stuff at the end of the day that's freaking robot doing it. So like, who knows? I think you just need to like try a little bit. I mean, you can literally go searching. As much as people want to talk shit about paying for advertising, I have definitely found artists, because I give their ad the time of day. There's a lot of shit that you will see if you click on them, but like you'll have people from all over the world paying to advertise for some reason in Northern Ireland or the UK, wherever they've chosen to pay to promote their music video on it on social media. It's like, if you scroll past and you see it and it looks like it's decent quality or whatever, just you can click on it, and if you don't like it, just
does you no harm. Yeah.
Just move on. But I've actually found bands that way. That's how I find
it does
Little
work.
Geronimo.
You know,
who's on our playlist.
The way that I think about it is, now 90% of the time you'll get people who maybe their heart's in the right place, but it's just not right. But then there is that 10% of the time, what you got to realize what people are doing there is that they are making music and they're promoting it to, say, fans of another band or whatever, which you happen to be, and that's why it gets put up on your Facebook wall or your Instagram or whatever. They believe so much that they're making music similar to this band that they're willing to pay a price to put it in front of you, a potential new listener. So that's why, as you say, if it looks interesting, if it kind of grabs you in the first 5-10 seconds, but it has to be quick, but I do give advertisements the time of day if they come up, because you got to realize there's a real person behind that. And like a lot of the times maybe they won't be right, but sometimes they are right. It's like, I'm advertising this to you because I think you like the same music that I do. This is the music that I'm making, sort of thing. That's why they're trying to put it in front of you, and they're trying to put their money where their mouth is. I believe in it this much that I'm trying to put it in front of other people who I think likes this music.
I mean, yeah, it's funny how people are so like, they're so defensive of something like that. As like, oh, they're reading like into my phone's data and finding out what I like, and I don't want that, so I turn that off, and I don't want this. That's like fucking semi-targeted marketing all day. I don't know. Apparently it's the stuff I like, so go for it.
Yeah, exactly. It makes my job easier.
Yeah,
it's like, you're always gonna buy stuff anyways. Like, just give me the stuff that I like.
Yeah, what's the point?
It's just another algorithm, basically.
Yeah,
stuff that you like.
You already give up all your life on fucking social media, so
that's what I mean. People complain about privacy, but then they'll post up their whole fucking life story on Facebook.
I know. Just would you just admit it already? You just want the attention. We all do. That's why we do this.
The second you think, oh, I don't want them looking into my, you've already been looked at for years, so it doesn't matter.
They're watching. Yeah, they're watching.
So go home.
Yeah, well, look, guys, I think we'll wrap up the show here. Didn't really get an answer to that question. We never do, though. We just try and round it off.
I'm sure we did. Like, we pretty much said.
I think the
said it all.
It's the same as last week. It's like, I don't know how, like, from an artist perspective, I don't know how much work there is in pursuing. No, I suppose that's the wrong thing to say. Pursuing radio plays and reviews. It's like, people are definitely getting their music from different places, and I think you need to pursue other avenues, getting your music to other areas.
You got to think outside the box. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, and that's such an easy thing to say, but we sound so
opposite. Are you talking from an artist perspective, though?
Yes, yeah. Well, as an artist of somebody, like, what do you aim for? It's quite hard. Like, if you're a musician just starting out, the advice a lot of people will give you is, like, to try and get your music on radio and to try and, like...
I don't know.
That's not really the way it works anymore, though. That's what I feel, is it is somewhat of a dying platform, and it's like, there needs to be different ways, and I think people need to realize that there is different ways to get your stuff out. There's no clean cut answer.
I hate to see people wasting their energy on things because the way that it was, and it's like you get radio plays, you get reviews, you get bigger shows. It's like, okay, yeah, definitely work on getting bigger and better shows and supporting better bands and stuff, but like, if nobody's going to radio, if nobody's reading reviews to get like, or like it's only at a certain level, it's only whenever you're already massive that's where people are getting their music from. It's like if you're starting at grassroots, what we're talking about here, people are definitely getting their music from very, very different areas. So, and everybody only has so much time in the day. I definitely think from an artist perspective, you really have to think about where you're spending your time and your energy and possibly your money to try and promote your music.
It all depends on what stage you're at. Obviously, if you're if you're a bigger artist, then yeah, you can just throw a song out there and it can go on a playlist and then everyone just listens to it. If you're a smaller independent artist, then 90% of the work has to be done by you on your platform, if you have a platform. Use different types of social media, like Stu, I know you've just been doing TikTok stuff. Use that. That's gonna be like,
or come to small platforms.
Yeah.
For example.
Yes. So yeah, it's.
But there is loads of us's about, and I honestly do think that's the way for grassroots bands is find the other us's. And like, we'll take no offense. You know what I mean? Small. Just go around everybody. This is the thing. Like, I definitely think that your effort is better used, like going around podcasts or like magazines, e-zines and stuff like that. Because I know we were talking about Stranger Days and stuff, and they definitely have. It's all about building a community, I think, and they have a community there. They have people that are really interested, and I think whenever you're a grassroots artist, it always starts probably with capturing like the hearts of other artists. So you really need to know who your audience is at the start too. You're not really making music maybe for the general music listener at the start. If you're doing music videos as well, you have to kind of keep that in mind too, that it's like the first people that you're probably going to reach is other musicians. And that's probably maybe something to think about and consider too, whenever you're putting your music out.
You need to put yourself in a more discoverable slot. If you try and aim for a playlist with, I don't know, Kendrick, Drake, it's like, okay, people are just going to go da-da-da-da and then just skip and just go to the next popular. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you need to slide yourself and go, oh, I'm going to find a niche at the start and then build from there, hopefully. And I think you can only really do that by trying to set it up yourself, smaller platforms, the likes you're doing TikTok and stuff, because stuff can just blow up like that, just like instantly, just straight away.
Gotta move with the times.
Really do.
As much as people want to fucking shit on TikTok, like I was like, I needed to get on that because I'm like, I like to know what's going on. I like to keep up with it, and the explanation I think I gave the same thing to you, and I said it to my wife too, is like I like to go on these things and try and get with it because I am thinking about my kid, as well, and I'm just like I want to know what this is like and how it works. And I think if I give you an example, this is sort of going off anything we're talking about here, but YouTube is like a big thing, and I followed a bunch of different YouTubers like for a long time, and there were certain things I knew that were going on that platform, like especially the marketing to young children, like the likes of a lot of people know about these guys now, but the likes of your Jake Pauls and your Logan Pauls, and they have their like Maverick merchandise and shit like that. Like they would intentionally market this to like what they knew would be their very young fan base, trying to get them to buy all their stuff. And it was pretty corrupt. Whenever you like look at it, it's like really manipulative. And parents thought, like, the parents still think like YouTube's like, all right, like just give your kid an iPad and let them.
Yeah, it's like setting them down in front of cartoons, basically.
Yeah, because they're like,
off you go.
nobody can put in. Yeah, nobody can put anything bad on this, and if it's marked as kid friendly, then it's kid friendly, so we're all good. But it's not just that there's no swearing or none of this or that on there. It's like it's also the way it's marketed, and it still happens now, but there's quite a few years whenever those guys were like manipulating children like crazy, and their merch was so expensive. I think the mere fact that young kids are asking their parents for merch, like they actually say the word merch, I was like, that's not what kids ask for. So in that light, I'm like, I knew that's a thing. I didn't have a kid at the time, but I'm like, I won't name names, but I know especially one person in particular who was older, who was buying their kid this stuff, and they were talking to me one day about it, and they were just like, it's all so expensive and whatever, and it's just like, what's it from? And then it was like, oh, it's this YouTube channel he follows, and I was like, yeah, you shouldn't let him do that. I wouldn't let him follow that. It's like, those guys are absolute dickheads and just the worst type of people. He's like, oh, he loves it and everything. It's like, yeah, still though, not healthy. And so anyway, yeah, YouTube works like that. It's like TikTok is the next thing. That's the next thing that's getting big, and I want to go on. I want to understand it for myself, for promotion sake, and also because whenever my kid's growing up, he's probably going to grow up with it.
Using and what he's on, probably. Yeah,
he might be on something else after that. God knows how it's going. I mean, they say Bebo's coming back, so I'm all for that. Team Bebo. Let's get on there, everyone. They don't have our old data. That's like the tagline as well. It's like, Bebo's returning in 2021. We don't have your old photos and logins. It's just like, yay! I can't wait.
Clean slate.
I doubt that will blow up.
I hope it does, because I'm sick of Facebook.
I was gonna say that that's probably the thing to finish on. Like, Facebook for me is like, it's dead. I share to it
only
from
just
other
now.
from other services.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about like places to promote your music and stuff. It's like technically we'd still share stuff to Facebook, but it's only because it's from Instagram and it's an easy one-click button that everything goes there. It's like, I really don't dip into it anymore.
I'm sorry to say this to all the maybe slightly older generation that listen to our podcast and support us, but I think the truth of the matter is that Facebook is where the older generation be at. And
it's been like that for years, if I'm honest.
Well, I know it has, man, but I mean, you're talking like now 2021. It is. I think it's so prominent that it's just like fucking. That's all it is. It's everybody's parents are on Facebook, and people are still on it. Like I feel like this is the thing is like, people our age are still on it, and even people maybe slightly younger than us are still on it, but they don't really use it. Like, you're not active, but you're like, I'm there because everything's on that platform. I need to go through it. See, people younger than us, or sorry, younger than us, younger than the generation below us, maybe. They're not going on.
Not gonna care.
Yeah. I don't see them like going on it. There's a lot of people that I know that are like younger and like they just don't have Facebook. Like, even like people I work with who would be like a good few years younger than me, like they don't use it. And I think that speaks volumes of how it's just gonna die out a little bit, you know? It's just filled with so much shit now. So, I mean, if you're wasting your time pushing on Facebook, you probably are pushing to a lot of older people. Like, let's be honest. Yeah. That's probably not where your fan base is at.
True. Things are changing. See, when freaking Jeff Bezos decides he's going to step down from Amazon this year, something's happening. I'm like, huh? What's going on?
Yeah. Bob Dylan said, the times they are a-changing. Yeah, so I think I could just talk about this all night, but I promised last week that I was gonna bring you one of my son's books out. If you didn't listen to the episode, the reason why is because I like to read this to my boy like it's a Nick Cave song.
What's the book called?
It's called Wow, Said the Owl.
Sounds like Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow. Wow.
So
It's actually happening. Story time with Dom Maple.
Story time with Dom Maple. This is how we're gonna end the episode. I don't really know why I started doing this, but there's just something about it that feels like a Nick Cave song to me. Feels like something off of Ghost Teen. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful book. It is called Wow, Said the Owl, a book about colors by Tim
McGraw.
Hops. Timothy.
The Tool Man.
I literally can't read. I'm not even trying to do like a bit here. Like this, I can't read this fucking writing. I don't know if you can see that, but
Tim Henman.
Wow.
I can't read that at all.
Hopgood? Yeah.
It's by Hopgood. It's
Maybe?
by Timmy. Wow, Said the Owl by Tim. Which is what we're gonna go for. So I have went to the trouble of making some.
This was last week whenever we were talking about that Animal Boy song, weren't we? And their video and stuff. He was like, "Oh yeah," because I compared them to Nick Cave, and then you were like, "Oh yeah, you know what I think of whenever I think of Nick Cave? This book that I read."
This book called Wow, Said the Owl. So here we go. Here's Wow, Said the Owl in the stylings of Nick Cave. At night, when we're feeling tired and ready for bed, owls are just waking up. Owls live in a nighttime world. They have eyes that can see in the dark. But this little owl was a curious owl. Instead of staying awake all night, as little owls are supposed to do, she took a long nap and woke up just before dawn. Wow, said the owl. She couldn't believe her eyes. The sky was a warm and wonderful pink. Wow, said the owl, as the yellow sun shone through the morning mist. Wow, said the owl, as white fluffy clouds floated across the bright blue sky. Said the owl, when she saw that the leaves on a tree were green. Wow, said the owl, as the pretty red butterflies flew by. She watched them land on the bright orange flowers which opened up in the warm sunshine. Up in the sky, the clouds turned gray and it started to rain. But the sun was still shining. Oh, wow, said the owl, as a beautiful rainbow filled with color filled the sky. The little owl sat happily in her tree, watched as the sun went down and the moon came up. The daytime is full of beautiful colors, she thought.
Need the clap.
You know what I love the most about that whole thing?
Yeah.
Was that for most of it, Andy's head was down like this.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point when you really got into it, you just seen this.
Yeah. Just looked up.
Vibing. Straight up vibes.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, do you want to read out Simon's comment to that music?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I don't know if I could do it as dramatic justice as what you've just done to that storybook there.
Doesn't need to be Nick Cave. Just go for it.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna skip to the second paragraph because I think that's like the most appropriate bit of it.
Okay, here's that long comment, dramatically. Done. Here we go.
Having access to 50 million songs sometimes feels like standing on the edge of a huge forest looking in. There could be countless untold treasures, but if you spend too long in one place, will you be missing out on something else? I feel like when I'm using Spotify, I'll find something great, listen to it for 2 or 3 times, then move on to something else, not ever connecting with the music on a deep level. Having a CD or MP3 player feels like you're in a small garden or local park, to milk this metaphor. With familiarity and comfort to me, that you can get to know really well. Maybe this obsession with comfort and familiarity speaks more about my mental state than it does with the act of discovering new music. And maybe it's more because, no matter how I try to deny it, I'm getting older, and the world is changing in a way I can't quite keep up with. This has took a turn. I'm going to go and reflect on something.
Wow, said the owl. She couldn't believe her eyes. The sky was a warm and wonderful pink. Wow, said the owl, as the yellow sun shone through the morning mist. Wow. Nah, I'm done. So fucking
I was
dumb.
almost about to break out into please give £3 a month or whatever you can afford.
Well,
Peter,
that was something.
Peter lives in Africa, and he has to travel 7 billion miles for water. If you can just donate just even probably bottles of water, because that's what they could use out there. And even if you could just like airdrop them in or something, that would probably be good. Because I mean, if you give me £3 a month, I'm probably not gonna give it to them. It's gonna go through a bunch of people, and the government's pretty fucking corrupt, so they're gonna take a bunch of it. So you know what? If you want Peter from Africa, his name's definitely not Peter, by the way. But if you want Peter from Africa to not have to travel 7 billion miles to get water, probably just like fly over there and give him a pack of Evian or something yourself, because it's the only way you're gonna do it. I'm Ewan McGregor, and this is Water Aid. I don't know. Is that what he does? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's everything for Six Up Bro this week. We just end on the sad music. We're never coming back again.
This is it.
Wow, said the owl.
I feel like
What?
I was just gonna say, would it take too much editing for us all just to like look off into the distance, and we could just like sepia tone and just fade to black?
Fine, you can do that as a clip. Do it as a clip. It's cool. Thank you guys for listening again to another episode of Six Step Bro. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Next week we're gonna be on Thursday. That's a little bit different. But we got Reasy Ajarro here, and we're gonna talk about the new EP. Yeah, guys. Yep. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we love you. Sub, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Catch you later.
Yup.